Hello guys, and welcome. Today we're going to be finding the volume, or the amount of space, inside of these two objects. The two objects are solids. First we have a rectangle, then we have a cube. Finding the volume is very similar in that we need to look at three different characteristics of the solid in order to find the volume. The objects are obviously different in their sizes, so therefore we're going to be finding their volumes in different ways. First, let's take a look at a rectangle. And a rectangle, as we know, has sides that are unequal in length. Obviously, one side is longer, other sides are shorter. Okay, so finding the volume here is very straightforward, simple multiplication problem. We're going to find the length, the width, and the height. Finding the length of an object is simply looking at how long the object is. So I would say that this long line here would be my length. So I'll put an L there, making sure to label so I don't get confused. Then the width of an object is how wide it is. I would say that this dimension here would give me the width. And then finally, the height, how tall the object is. And I like to explain that by being the top to the bottom. How would you measure how tall something is? So the top of my rectangle is here, the bottom is here. So I would say then my height would be here. Simply taking these three values and multiplying them together will ultimately give you the volume of the rectangle. So I have length times width times height will equal the volume. Now, paying attention to our multiplication, we need to also pay attention to the units that we're working with. And typically, when we're using mathematical equations, we will use centimeters. So your length will be in centimeters, your width and your height will all be measured in centimeters. So when you're plugging it in to your problem, make sure that you have your units. As you multiply this out, make sure that you add the exponents together, and then your units automatically will become centimeters cubed. That's how you find the area of a rectangle. The area of a cube will be very similar in finding the length, the width, and the height. However, we'll notice that on this cube, all sides are equal. All sides have the exact same measurement. So we will label all sides that we will determine as being the same. So my length, let's stay with my idea of length, will be here. We'll label that E. My width will be here as well. It is also equal to the length, so I will label it E as well. And then finally, the height of my cube is the same length as well, so I will label that E. I plug it into my original calculation, which simply is multiplying all three sides. So E times E will equal the volume of this cube. Again, using our proper units, again, centimeters as being the units. Plugging those centimeters in here. And then adding your exponents at the end with a final unit, of being centimeters cubed. All right, so here we are back with our rectangle. We're going to find the volume of this rectangle. Now we actually have measurements, and we're going to stay with our length times width times height as being the formula to do so. We have our measurement, and attached to our measurement we have our units of measure, again in centimeters. So our original formula was length times width times height. Okay? L times W times H. We said that the length was down here, so just plug it into our calculation. 4.0 centimeters times the width, which is right here, 2.0 centimeters times height, which is here. Just adjust that for you. And our height is 3.0 centimeters. Might be a little bit too long to do by hand, so I like to use a calculator whenever possible, this being one of those circumstances. So 4.0 times 2.0 times 3.0 equals 24.0 Now we need to remember our units. Like we said, we need to add our exponents. 1, 2, 3 centimeters cubed, showing a three-dimensional object. Now the examples that I showed you were relatively easy. They were regular shaped objects, solids, rectangles, and cubes. However, the more extravagant the shapes, the more extravagant the formulas used in order to find the values. We could talk about that at another time. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial.